So if you made it this far, that means you clicked the link, you got signed up, you saw what I was talking about. What I wanted to do in this video is actually share a very personal story of something I went through when I became a victim of the war on drugs in America. When I was 22 years old, I had a friend here, friend, associate, acquaintance, whatever, locally that did party promoting for a club downtown. And it was right around November of 2007 where I called him and I'm like, hey, what's up? How much would it cost to book Lil Wayne for a show? And he laughed at me and he was like, hey man, I'm in California. I can't really talk about this right now. I'll talk to you when I get back to Michigan. So I hung up and went on with my day. Nothing really special going on. And he calls me later in the day and he was like, hey, Dre, I got this job for you if you want. It's a big deal. And at the time I was 22, I was unemployed. I didn't really have shit going on. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm interested. What's up? He's like, I need you to drive for me. And I'm like, oh, really? Wow, it sounded exciting. I got really excited about it. And I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? I'll fucking drive. Who cares? He's like, all right, man. He's like, just be on standby. I'm going to call you in the next day or two. I'm going to fly you out to California. He's like, I'll give you $5,000. I'm like, oh, wow, $5,000. Whoa, this is amazing. I knew he was in the marijuana trade or whatever you want to call it. He had actually done some Fed time for tax evasion because he had a really big house on Lakeshore Drive in Illinois in downtown Chicago. So he was pretty deep into the game and he'd done a little time. And I knew what he had was probably pretty big, but he couldn't talk about it on the phone. So a couple days go by, I don't hear from him. Finally, it was Sunday night, and that Thursday was Thanksgiving. And I call him, I'm like, yo, man, it's Thanksgiving on Thursday. This is a 3-day trip. What the fuck is going on? And for whatever reason, he really got motivated by that. And I called him. He called me back that night. Somebody else actually called. They got my information to book the plane ticket. I leave in the morning to drive to the airport. And this will always be stuck in my head, but the rapper 2 Chainz Today used to be Titty Boy. And the Player Circle came out with a song with Lil Wayne that was really popular at that time. It was called Duffel Bag Boy. And I'll always remember this because I had a Italian duffel bag that was maroon and leather, and that was all I took on my trip. So I listened to this song, drove to the airport 6:30 in the morning, listening to Duffel Bag Boy, and I had my own little duffel bag while I was going cross country to do some drug trafficking. So I thought that was so cool doing that. I get to the airport and I go up to the stand and I try to check in to get my tickets. And when I give the receptionist lady my name, she goes, we don't have any tickets, you're not in the system. And it was about 7 in the morning. I was all hyped up to go on this trip and I go leave the booth and go sit down. And I really had a moment here where my whole life probably would have been different. But I'm sitting there I just drove to the airport, it's early, I was all excited to go on this trip. They just tell me there's no ticket for me. And I go sit down on the bench and I call my friend, and obviously California is 3 hours earlier, so he didn't pick up the phone. And I could have left and that would have been the end of it, and I wouldn't be telling the story right now. But what I did was I went back up to the booth and said, hey, you know what, why don't you try this again? And lo and behold, she types my name in, boom, my ticket comes up, yep, North Carolina to LA, blah, 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 blah. They give me my boarding pass, and that began my journey. So I went to North Carolina with a layover over to San Francisco. I land in San Francisco. I get picked up by 2 other parties. We go to Avis Car Rental, and they had a black Charger, and I got a, what color was it? It was a champagne Trailblazer. That was the rental car that I had to drive back. They had already flown out there a couple days before, and they put a little over 100 pounds in turkey bags, and then they stuffed the turkey bags in snowboard bags. So there's about 12 pounds per bag, 7 snowboard bags. And they had it in the trunk. So we picked up the Trailblazer. We took everything out of the trunk into the Trailblazer, put the back seats down with snowboard bags. It looked so bogus and it was not legit at all. It was just a logistical nightmare. I remember we stopped to eat sushi at a place in San Francisco where you sit and they put the little sushi on little boats and the little boats goes in a circle. And I'm sitting there eating this not very good sushi thinking, well, you know, what have I gotten myself into? What am I doing? And then we hit the road. I remember LA had some techno stations. We don't have that here in Detroit, Metro Detroit. And I'm like, wow, they play some good music out here. Get on I-80 through Tahoe. I had a couple moments where my heart beat out of my chest because the state police drove right by me, and here I am driving with what ended up being 112 pounds of weed. Go through Nevada. We pull over at night in a hotel. The rule was no driving after 5 p.m. and sit, sleep, wake up, drive all day through Wyoming and Colorado. Went through a snowstorm in the mountains. And then Wyoming the next day, we're driving. It's just all day driving. And then second day, third day, we're driving, Salt Lake City, Utah, all of that. And on the third day, the way we were supposed to do it was we were supposed to arrive the day before Thanksgiving. And it was the biggest party day. And that's what was supposed to happen. But when we were driving that evening, there was a blizzard that shut down I-80. So we had to get off and go back to the hotel, got pizza, drank some vodka, everything's so honky-dory, this is great, no big deal. At the time, I thought the worst trouble I would get in would be 6 months of boot camp. And I can do push-ups and pull-ups all day. There's really no issue there, and running miles and being yelled at. It's nothing compared to what I've had to go through in life. So I was like, worst case scenario, I get caught, I get boot camp, whatever. I've never been in trouble before. I have nothing to worry about. And so it got delayed, and then Thanksgiving Day morning, we finally hit the road. And I'm driving, we're on I-80, crossing the bridge from Iowa into Illinois, and we stop to get gas, and I pick up a pack of these like purple grape papers. And now, all going through I-80, I'm driving over Wyoming, and the sun is beating, the back seats are down, the weed is out, and we've got a little like bed linen to put over it. It was so bogus. Anybody that just looked in the back of the car could see something really unsavory and shady was going on. But the whole time I'm like, man, I should smoke. I'm got all this weed behind me. Why the fuck not? So as I'm approaching the bridge from Iowa to Illinois, I reach in the back and I pull out a pound of weed. And I take a bud out, and it's really good, just outdoor California weed. This was in the end of November, so it was just some good outdoor weed from California. And I roll up a really big joint, and I end up smoking half of it and throwing it out or putting it out, whatever, and ended up getting incredibly, really fucking high. And that's kind of when the trouble started, because as soon as we crossed the bridge into Illinois, I started seeing state troopers everywhere. I saw more cops in a 25-mile zone than I saw in the previous 4 or 5 states over 2-3 days. So I'm high, I'm paranoid, I'm driving, I have fucking plates from Nevada, and I'm in the middle of Illinois during the day on Thanksgiving, and there's fucking state troopers everywhere. So I'm just not having a good time. Now, I had a pacer car the whole time. These guys were following me, and their job was to follow right behind me, and should something go awry, I don't know, clip the cop or cause a diversion or whatever. Well, they weren't really doing that very good of a job, and they were usually 3-4 cars behind me, just watching me. And for some reason, they started calling me, hey, slow down, hey, slow down. Because what I was doing was I would get into like a little sausage link of cars and I would stay with them, which would typically be, I don't know, 2-3 miles over the speed limit. But like you're going with the pace of traffic, you're going with the flow of traffic. They kept calling me and bugging me, slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down. And, you know, my nerves were shot. I was nervous. I was young. I was taking this trip. This is just like, it was so overwhelming for me. So I just passed a cop. He's facing west. Now I'm arguing with them. Fine, I'll fucking slow down, motherfucker. Because I had, they wanted me to put the cruise control on, and up to that point I didn't have cruise control on. So I took my phone, I fucking throw it on the ground, and I finally told him to chill out. So right after that happened, I drive by another cop. This time he's facing east and I'm going east. I already had cruise control engaged. I'm arguing with them, I had all this shit going on. I see the cop, I pull over to the slow lane, and I'm looking in the rear view mirror to see him behind me. And what I failed to do was disengage the cruise control. So what happened was I was going at like 67, 68 miles an hour. The truck in front of me was going 55, and I was approaching him very fast. Instead of disengaging the cruise control, I switched back over to the other lane. When I did that, I caused some type of reaction, and that was at least why the state trooper said he pulled me over. So as soon as that happened, I saw him turn his lights on, I saw him come after me, and literally my whole life came crashing down before me. Within half a mile, he had me pulled over, and it was just probably one of the most sinking feelings I've ever felt in my life. He came up to me, where's your ID? The rental agreement, my name wasn't on the rental agreement. What are you doing? I was snowboarding with some friends in Colorado. Where are your friends? What's in the back seat? Blah, blah, blah. He was being really nice to me. I thought in my fantasy that I was going to get away with it, but he was just waiting for the supervisor to show up. And I'm not going to say the names, but I came up with names in my head. One was Officer Strudel, and the other one was Officer Spanks. Not the real name. But yeah, they arrested me, and at this time, they put me in some cuffs where you had to like put the cuffs up front and then put it in front of you. Put me in the front of the cruiser, and on the way to the jail, One Republic song, It's Too Late to Apologize, came on. And I'm fucking 22. I'm in the front seat of a cop car. I just got pulled over trafficking on Thanksgiving Day. All the 112 pounds were in turkey bags. And I'm driving to the little police station listening to It's Too Late to Apologize. The trip ended, my life ended, and I was on my way to prison. So yeah, that was why I went to prison for weed back in 2007. And that was something that radically changed the trajectory of my life. And it was a really terrible experience, and I don't wish that upon anybody. So yeah, there's more, but